Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most baffling mysteries of the modern era, the 2006 disappearance of 27-year-old Brian Schaffer. This is a case that's captivated the public for years, and honestly, you'll quickly see why. Brian was this bright, promising medical student. He had very distinct physical features too, like a highly unique fleck in his iris and a Pearl Jam stick figure tattoo on his arm. But as we'll find out, those identifying marks wouldn't be enough to help find him. So let's dive into the absolute impossible locked room mystery at the very heart of our analysis today. You really have to ask yourself, how does a man walk into a crowded second-story bar, never actually leave, and just vanish without a trace? Because Brian somehow defied every single security camera and exit in a busy building to literally disappear into thin air. I mean, how does that even happen? Well, to understand how he vanished, we really need to set the scene for the night it happened. It was March 31, 2006, right at the kickoff of spring break. Brian was a promising microbiology grad, completely deep into his second year of med school at Ohio State University. He started his break with his dad, Randy, sharing a pretty exhausting Outback Steakhouse dinner. After that, he chatted with his girlfriend, Alexis Wagner, also a med student. They had this big trip to Miami planned for Monday, and she just told him she was heading to Toledo to visit her family for the weekend before their flight. Honestly, everything seemed completely normal. Okay, let's map out Brian's final known movements here. So after calling Alexis at 10 p.m., Brian goes out bar hopping with his friend Clint Florence. They hit up the Short North Tavern, then Brothers Bar, before meeting up with Meredith Reed. Meredith ends up driving them to the Ugly Tuna Saloon right around midnight. And that 1:15 a.m. timestamp, that is actual security footage of Brian, Clint, and Meredith riding the escalator up to the bar. Fast forward to 1:57 a.m., Brian is last seen on camera in this little alcove outside the bar, flirting and kissing the neck of a girl named Brighton Zakonko. She puts her number in his phone, turns around to use the restroom, and that's it. After that precise moment, Brian is never seen again. What makes this so unbelievably confounding is the actual layout of the venue. The Ugly Tuna Saloon sat up on the second floor of the Gateway Film Center. Police painstakingly reviewed the main camera footage monitoring that escalator entrance, and get this, they accounted for every single patron entering the building and every single one leaving at the 2 a.m. closing time. Everyone, except for Brian. That leaves the alternative exits, right? You've got 3 or 4 emergency fire doors and a non-surveillance service door leading straight into an active construction site. He absolutely had to have slipped out an unmonitored exit, but how? And more importantly, why? You know, when someone disappears, they usually leave a trail, a crumb of evidence somewhere. But in Brian's case, a complete, total void. His bank accounts and credit cards were totally untouched. His car was just sitting there, parked and unmoving 6 blocks away on King Avenue. His apartment showed absolutely zero signs of a struggle. Police search dogs scoured dumpsters, even the city's sewers. Nothing. His girlfriend Alexis was aggressively searching riverbanks by night and dumpsters by day. She even heard his phone ring once during her daily calls to him, which she called the best sound she'd ever heard. But unfortunately, his provider, Singular Wireless, crushed that hope by blaming it on a system glitch. The trail was literally ice cold. Now, take a look at this number, 14. Amidst all the dead ends, this right here represents the single digital anomaly in the whole case. Investigators couldn't track Brian's phone via GPS, but a cell tower did detect a ping from his phone 14 miles northwest of Columbus, out in Hilliard. Was it another glitch? Honestly, nobody knows. Meanwhile, completely desperate for answers, his dad Randy consulted a psychic who unhelpfully claimed Brian's body was in the water near a bridge pier. That sparked searches along the Olentangy River, but again, absolutely nothing. The sheer perplexity of this locked room mystery gained massive national attention. I mean, the story spread like wildfire. It even reached Eddie Vedder, the lead singer of Pearl Jam, which is wild considering they're the band that inspired Brian's stick figure tattoo. During a concert, Vedder actually stopped to make a public plea. He read out Brian's description, noted that he felt like one of our own, and urged anyone with any information to contact Crime Stoppers. So what do you do when you have 0 physical evidence, 0 digital footprint, and 0 sightings? Well, investigators and online sleuths were forced to rely on theories to try and explain the impossible. There are 4 primary ones we're going to break down today: an accidental death, a staged runaway, foul play, or suicide. Let's start with the accident theory. Because the bar sat right next to a major county construction project, some people theorize that a tired, probably intoxicated Brian bypassed the main cameras, slipped out that service door, and accidentally fell into the site. The darker twist to this theory is a cover-up, that his body was deliberately hidden to avoid the bad press of a fatal accident halting a massive county investment. But it's worth noting the police search dogs thoroughly cleared the area, which, by the way, is now entirely buried beneath tons of rubble. Okay, theory number 2, the runaway. Did Brian basically stage his own disappearance? If you look at it, he certainly had motives. His mother had tragically passed away from cancer just 3 weeks prior. He was actually so distraught he was an hour late to her funeral. Plus, he reportedly had a $20,000 life insurance payout, giving him the actual cash to escape. He was also known for radical shifts. After a 1999 DUI, he completely quit drinking and exercised heavily for 6 months. And he even dreamed of leaving medicine to start a band. But you have to weigh that against his reasons to stay. He was planning to propose to Alexis in Miami on a trip his late mother had gifted them. He had a bright future in med school, a super close bond with his brother Derek, and friends said he was actually handling his grief pretty well. Theories 3 and 4 bring us to foul play and suicide. The foul play angle usually points to a mugging gone wrong. Med students have notoriously grueling schedules, and some speculate Brian might have been carrying a lot of cash to buy stimulants like Adderall or cocaine while bar hopping, making him a prime target. There was also a completely debunked FBI theory about a smiley face killer targeting popular college guys. As for suicide, while he was undoubtedly grieving his mother, investigators point out a harsh reality: most suicidal individuals actually want their bodies to be found, making this scenario feel a lot less likely. Now, this right here is one of the most frustrating parts of the investigation for Brian's family: his friend Clint Florence's shifting behavior. Before police asked him to take a polygraph, Clint was highly cooperative. Interestingly enough, he was also the only person claiming Brian had returned inside the bar from that alcove. But the second police requested a lie detector test, complete 180. Clint refused the test, immediately hired attorney Neil Rosenberg, and completely cut off all contact with Brian's brother Derek and the rest of the family. Laterally, that refusal cast a massive shadow of suspicion onto Clint. His attorney, Neil Rosenberg, defended the move, basically stating Clint had already shared everything he knew, so why repeat it? But then Rosenberg drops an absolute bombshell in a 2009 letter to a private investigator. He suggested that the Columbus police actually believed Brian was still alive and in hiding. He totally deflected the blame, writing that if Brian is alive, he's the one causing the family pain, not Clint. And sadly, the mystery doesn't just end with Brian's disappearance. It's somehow compounded the family's tragedy. In September 2008, just a little over 2 years after Brian vanished, his father Randy was out clearing debris in his yard during a heavy windstorm. In a completely freak accident, a massive branch from a nearby tree broke off, fell, and killed him. Following Randy's sudden death, an online obituary and condolence book were put up. And then, this deeply eerie message appeared. It was written as if it were from Brian himself, just stating a location: U.S. Virgin Islands. Imagine being the family and seeing that. For a brief moment, it gave them renewed hope that maybe, just maybe, Brian was out there alive. But investigators traced the IP address, and it wasn't from the Caribbean at all. It came from a public computer right there in Franklin County, Ohio. It was nothing more than a cruel hoax. Decades later, you can imagine the emotional toll this still takes. Alexis, Brian's girlfriend, eventually had to move on with her life. She married a contractor named Eric in 2009 and lives in Toledo with their kids. But for Brian's brother Derek, now the very last remaining member of that immediate family, the guilt is just a heavy, heavy burden. He and his wife Maureen had passed on Brian's invitation to go out that exact night because they were too tired after a show at the Funny Bone Comedy Club. Derek lives in Canal Winchester today, constantly agonizing over whether things would have been completely different if they had just met up with Brian that night. We're going to wrap up this explainer with this really chilling assessment from Detective John Hurst. When you look at the probabilities he lays out, every single avenue is a dead end. There's no body, no motive, no footage of an exit, just a man stepping into a shadow and vanishing. It leaves us with this haunting question to ponder. In an age where we are constantly monitored, constantly recorded, and tracked, how is it mathematically possible for a human being to simply cease to exist between one frame of security footage and the next? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the impossibilities.